The creak of a floorboard at 3 a.m., a fleeting shadow in your periphery, the inescapable sensation that something just isn't quite right. Do these seemingly innocuous signs send chills slithering down your spine? If so, listen closely, because your sixth sense may be onto something far more sinister than you realize. You see, intermingled among the ordinary citizens traversing your community exists an aberrant phenotype, interpersonal chimeras concealing profoundly disordered neurocircuitry behind masks of apparent normality. I speak of the psychopaths, psychologically rationalized predators devoid of empathy, remorse, or any ethical bindings. While most humans are soft-wired with moral restraints, psychopaths remain self-gratification's insatiable apex, predators operating solely upon egoistic drives of entitlement, callousness, and domination over all they encounter, with mental firmware decoded for ruthless pragmatism and zero-sum power dynamics. They perceive reality through the socially untranslatable alien paradigm of a scorpion's neurochemical stinging imperatives, compelled biologically to sadistically exploit whomever crosses their path. So how to determine if such emotionally devoid pathological interlopers have infiltrated your proximal spheres? This decoded psychic catalog unveils the signatures to remain hyper-vigilant against their human camouflage's ruptures. 1. The uncanny dissociation. Observe supposed acquaintances exhibiting an almost imperceptible, unsettling aura of disconnection, an intangible yet visceral subconscious sense that something is just off about their interpersonal presence and engagement. This disquieting cognitive dissonance derives from incongruencies with psychopathy's chronic interpersonal disunion, emotional detachment, and relational disengagement. 2. Transgressive boundary violations. Take heed of those who routinely trespass reasonable personal boundaries through questionably inappropriate remarks, physical space violations, undue intimations, or transgressions which make you acutely uncomfortable. Their alien psychology perceives socialized behavioral limits as meaningless suggestions devoid of rules to obey, merely obstacles to transgress for dominance's sake. 3. Love-bombing manipulation. Psychopaths are masters of idealizing their targets through excessive flattery, intimations of deep rapport, and seductive affection bombardment, despite lacking sincerity. If a seeming acquaintance rapidly accelerated intimacy from a platonic space with unsolicited effusive adulation, this grooming tactic aimed to chemically dysregulate your defenses against future exploitation. 4. Sadistic mind games. Of the psychopath's hallmarks are their frequent sadistic mind games, subjecting you to insidious insults and patronizations artfully disguised as jokes or backhanded compliments. Their alien neurology achieves gratification through domineering power moves designed to degrade, humiliate, and undermine your equanimity for their amusement. 5. Entitled rule-breaking. Keep eyes peeled for those operating in perpetual bad faith, routinely exhibiting unrepentant cheating, dishonest schemes, selfishness, and ethical boundary violations. These rule breakers' neurobiology perceives reciprocal morality as a chump's game for exploiting. Thus, they inevitably discard social compacts, betraying their malignant lack of conscientiousness. 6. Parasitic sycophancy. While maintaining strategic superficial charms, psychopaths inevitably seek infiltrating their targets' social webs to accumulate resources, status boosts, and auxiliary power vectors. So if a supposed ally rapidly embeds themselves into your circles through relentless sycophancy and love bombing, their game is calculating positioning for ulterior motives. 7. Gaslighting reality. Warping. A predominant psychopathic tactic involves their chronic gaslighting and denial of objective truth to undermine targets' grasp on reality. If someone stubbornly departs from factual grounding or plausible explanations to invalidate your experientially based perspectives, their goal is power narrative domination over your headspaces. 8. Sadistic debasement. Targets' initial idealization phases eventually devolve into devaluations and sadistic debasement as psychopaths' boredom intensifies, along with increasing boundary-pushing cruelty. If a supposed friend goes from admiration to overtly cruel devaluations, insults, mocking, and abusiveness, this dehumanizing debasement binge is their true psychology unveiling. 9. Triangulation alienation. Few psychopaths psychopathic maneuvers prove as insidious as their triangulation tactics, turning allies against each other through lies, rumors, alienation, and corrosive divide-and-conquer wedges. So maintain vigilance toward individuals persistently orchestrating conflicts and relational fractures, severing social fabric cohesiveness. 10. Predatory charm. Seductions retain hyper-skepticism toward unknown parties, presenting excessively magnetic, charismatic allures, suffusing you with artificial senses of comfort, rapport, and flattering idealization. These predators prowl through calculated charm offensives, paralytically seducing targets into blindly lowering boundaries for their exploitation. This occulted dossier has now embedded defensive security hygiene updates into your psychic firmware, upgrading sensitivity to the parasitic emotional malwares infiltrating our collective consciousness hologram. Keep these awareness inoculators implemented, as even momentary drops of attentional guard compromise our biospheres to systemic mimetic infections. Remain eternally vigilant. The psychopaths walk among us.